as an alternative.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the Devil Radio Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome to the Friday edition of the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Friday, we do the airing of the grievances on Friday. One of my big problems. Oh, fancy Brian. Let him off a little early for the weekend. Got a big party coming up this weekend. Need him rested and ready to party. So I got my man Evan over here. You're also invited to the party, but you seem somehow younger and stronger and more capable of partying without, a good night's rest. So we're going to put you to the test, Evan, and hopefully the audience as well. Need your participation on Fridays. I mean, I got a lot of problems with some of you people, and now you're going to hear about them. But also your grievances. Air them here. 844-967-2789. I will have a fine co-devil about 3:30. Former U.S. Attorney James Santelle. He is an audience favorite. That will not be a grievance of anyone's, I suspect. So we'll get to him, and we're going to need some legal advice because my first grievance of the day, the U.S. Supreme Court, you see the newest, the U.S. Supreme Court has allowed the Texas abortion ban to stay in force. SB 8, I believe they call it, Texas's 6-week abortion ban with no exceptions for rape or incest. Well, it's on the books and it's in force, and it will remain so thanks to the 5-4 decision of the Supremes. And Roberts joined the liberals, Chief Justice Roberts, and Gorsuch wrote for the majority. And basically, the majority, the 5-4 majority, the conservatives, Gorsuch wrote, well, abortion providers can still sue for injunctive relief, but you're allowing the law to stay in place. And the law, let's not forget the unique, novel nature of this law, the vigilante nature of this law. It's not actually the state that enforces this law. It's your neighbor or anyone in the United States that wants a $10,000 reward, if I recall. So it basically puts a bounty on the head of any woman or service provider who might be, getting abortion or reproductive care. The fact that they can sue is being described, the abortion providers in Texas, that is. The fact that they have been left an avenue to sue is being called a narrow victory. But I would call the fact that the pro-birth, anti-abortion side, they got to keep the abortion law in place in Texas, a 6-week ban. Well, I would call that a major victory. So that's where we start the day. And, I'm going to ask the legal expert. I've been reading the coverage here, Josh Gersten and Alice Miranda Olstein at the Politico, but that's whose coverage I saw first. Here's a little bit of it. Chief Justice John Roberts and the court's 3 liberal justices, and this is from the body of Politico's coverage, partially dissented from Friday's decision, saying the high court should have permitted the law's opponents to seek to block it more directly by suing local court clerks who accept the privately filed suits. Again, the vigilante-inspired suits, right? This is the novel plan. Texas is doing a workaround on the federal courts by putting this crazy, this vigilante-style enforcement mechanism in place. Well, the purpose of that is to basically say, well, federal courts, you'll have no jurisdiction here. Not until someone's offended, not until you seek injunctive relief, if you will. Separately, the High Court turned aside an appeal from the Biden administration, which brought a suit on behalf of the federal government to try to block the Texas law. The justices offered no explanation for that decision. Justice Sonia Sotomayor dissented. Now, Justice Neil Gorsuch, wrote the pivotal opinion in the clinic's suit over the Texas law, which has been in effect since September 1. No abortions for you, not in Texas. Halting nearly all abortions after 6 weeks of pregnancy and forcing hundreds of people to cross state borders or go outside the law to obtain an abortion. Because it's not like people don't need abortive care. It's just no longer legal for them to seek it in the state of Texas. Writing for all the court's Republican appointees, except for Roberts, Gorsuch said opponents of the law could not target its unusual private enforcement mechanism by suing state court judges and clerks to prevent action on suits filed under the law. Now, I know that's a little muddled in the writing, a little hard to understand. But Gorsuch basically blocked the avenue to sue over this sort of novel mechanism of enforcement, the vigilante mechanism. Said, no, you can't sue over that. Now, the Trump appointee said such officials enjoying sovereign immunity. Allowing them to be sued would be a violation of the whole scheme of our government. Really? Because the government gets sued all the freaking time, Gorsuch. Gorsuch added that permitting such an approach threatened to upend federalism by turning any state court case into a federal court case. If it caught on and the federal judges could enjoin state courts and clerks from entertaining disputes between private parties under this state law, what would stop the federal judges from prohibiting state courts and clerks from hearing and docketing disputes between private parties under other state laws? However, Roberts, the chief who penned an opinion joined by the court's 3 Democratic appointees, said he would have permitted suits against state court clerks because of the way the state law known as SB 8 was intentionally structured to try to evade the federal court review. As Roberts wrote, any novelty in this remedy is a direct result of the novelty of Texas's, and he describes it as a scheme. Roberts also suggests that to him, the key issue in the case is not abortion. It was Texas's direct affront to the Constitution and the supremacy of the federal law. The nature of the federal right infringed does not matter. It is the role of the Supreme Court in our constitutional system that is at stake. Did you catch all that? So Roberts, and he may rule differently when it comes time for Mississippi, but the vigilante nature, the fact that it's not a state enforced law, that's the part that is most problematic about the Texas law. Do you know why? Because effectively they are evading the federal courts. They're evading the Supreme Court. They're evading the supremacy of the federal courts. And they're doing so with forethought. And what they're really doing is they're laying a blueprint for other conservative copycats. Of course, conservatives only assume they will ever play this game. This will never be a tool of the left. The left will never try to abridge, let's say, their Second Amendment rights using a similar vigilante tact. Here's a little bit more from the reporting over at Politico. I'll keep sharing my opinions, I'm quite sure. Despite the disagreement about the wisdom of allowing suits against states, judicial officers, Roberts said he expected that under the majority ruling, the federal court should act quickly to resolve the litigation. And he implied the decision should favor the clinics and the doctors. Again, they are the only ones left with an avenue to sue using the federal courts. Given the ongoing chilling effect of the state law, the district court should resolve this litigation and enter appropriate relief without delay, the Chief Justice wrote. But what about Clarence Thomas? Well, man, he's been on the court for a hell of a long time. H.W. Bush, I believe. Justice Clarence Thomas would have gone even further than his conservative colleagues, writing that the clinics should also be barred from suing the state health department over the law and saying the challengers' claims of the threat to abortion rights is too speculative. Petitioners complain of the chill of SB 8. This is the writing of Thomas, has on the purported right to abortion. But as our cases make clear, it is not enough that petitioners feel inhibited because SB 8 is on the books. Well, they only feel inhibited because they are inhibited by the law, the unconstitutional law with the unconstitutional mechanism of enforcement, at least to this man's opinion. But I guess if you and your conservative buddies, Clarence, if you come together in a 5-4 ruling and say, the sky is green, well, legally, the sky is green. Doesn't make any sense, though. The High Court first rebuffed the Texas law's opponents in early September, allowing the ban to kick in and later issuing a 5-4 ruling denying any relief. That was the earlier ruling. At that time, as he did Friday, Roberts joined with the court's liberals in calling for Texas's law to be promptly halted. Yeah, it's in direct constitutional contradiction. A lot of alliteration there. I'm not always good at that. But Roe v. Wade is currently the law of the land, and they may have every gumption of getting rid of Roe v. Wade, but are they really hoping to supplant it with a 6-week abortion ban that includes no relief for rape or incest? The justices, back to political, the justices later agreed to hear 2 separate challenges to Texas policy on highly accelerated schedule, one brought by the Biden administration, that's been thrown out, one brought by the abortion clinics in the state. Those arguments held November 1st focused largely on technical issues tangential to the central question of the right to an abortion. Challengers say Texas shouldn't be allowed to get around court precedent protecting abortion by delegating the enforcement authority to private citizens rather than the state. That's the big issue that Roberts and we should all have with this ruling. And more than allowing the statute to stand could lead to other states setting up similar schemes to enforce gun bans, COVID restrictions, and more. But mostly it's going to be abortion bans. I feel quite confident. Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. It's Friday. We air grievances. That's my first take. That's my first grievance of the day. Yours could be next. Phone lines open, 844-967-2789. Going to have a fine legal eagle, a code devil, if you will. James Santelle, former U.S. attorney, joins me at 3:30 on the airwaves. But you could be next. Dial us up. It is a Friday party. I feel like partying. 844-96-PARTY.
Brought to you by CDC and the Ad Council.
Managing today's uncertainty can be overwhelming. Focus on what you can control, even if it's little things like your before bedtime ritual.
Find more self-care and coping tips at coping-19.org.
600,000 Wisconsin families are receiving checks to help take care of their kids thanks to the expanded child tax credit passed by Joe Biden and congressional Democrats. Ron Johnson voted against these checks for Wisconsin families, despite voting for a 2017 tax break that put more money into the pockets of millionaires like himself. It's time to vote Ron Johnson out of office. MoveOn.org political action, paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertisement. Poll.moveon.org, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates. He would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
Dad, I picked up your pills, made your lunch, and your laundry is done.
When you care for a loved one, you take care of everything. But are you taking care of yourself? Find free care guides at aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Spruce up your home with non-toxic vegan candles from Wisco Home Goods. I'm Don, one of the owners of this family-owned Midwestern business in Madison, Wisconsin. Our candles are 100% sustainable and come in a variety of unique blends and scents that make a perfect holiday gift. Plus, at Wisco Home Goods, we believe in giving back. With our Do Good, Smell Good campaign, a portion of the proceeds go to local charities. So support a Midwestern company that supports our local communities. Order now at wiscohomegoods.com.
The Devil's Advocates, the fix for political junkies everywhere.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the TGIF. Gotta think about that for a second. Thank God it's Friday. Nearly the weekend. It's going to be a party weekend for me and my crew. The first annual Devil Radio Burn It All Down Christmas party. We'll have fun this weekend, I hope. I feel quite sure we will. Trust me, it's going to be a party. Everyone, I hope you join the party right here on the Devil's Advocates Radio Show at 844-967-2789. It's always better when you do. But I want to bring up a topic. I've covered this before, at least a little bit. And it's hit the headlines again. And I want to prove to you that the big lie is really a big lie. And here's what I mean. Voters who claim that, Joe Biden's not your legitimate president, that it was rigged, that Donald Trump got Scrooged. Those people are the most fired up. They are the most engaged. And they're the ones that say you can't trust the outcome of the last election. They're the ones that are most likely to vote in next year's midterm elections. So the big lie, those that tell you, or at least tell the pollsters, I hope you don't have a lot of personal contact with the Trumpsters out there in the world, but the holidays coming up, you probably got an uncle somewhere. I know how it's going to go. But those that claim, Joe Biden's not a legitimate president, they're lying. They're lying because they know that's not the truth. Why do we know that they know that's not the truth? Because they can't wait to go vote in the next election. Do you see, even by their own rationale, it's not logical. A little bit of information, new polling, Travis Getty's reporting at Raw Story. Substantial majorities of Republicans believe Donald Trump had the 2020 election snatched away from him. And those voters are the most enthusiastic about casting ballots in next year's midterms. Trump claims about election fraud depressed turnout in a pair of Georgia runoff elections that gave Democrats a slim majority in the U.S. Senate. But those conspiracy theories now appear to be driving GOP enthusiasm. By a 74-25 margin, Republicans and Republican-leaning independent voters, who we'll call potential Republican primary voters, say that Biden didn't win enough votes in the 2020 election legitimately. 74-25, that's like 3-1. Republicans claim they don't believe it. But it's not just that there are a lot of them. They look to be the ones who are going to be the most likely to cast a ballot next year. The margin grows to 86-13 that Biden didn't win legitimately among potential Republican primary voters who are extremely enthusiastic about voting next year. Did you hear that? 86% of those who said that Joe Biden didn't really win are extremely enthusiastic about voting in the next election. Because all elections are rigged and they stole it from their guy. Are we beginning to understand? This is not reality. They know it's not reality. This is sour grapes. Sour grapes. They're mad as hell. Compare that to Republicans who are not enthusiastic about voting in 2022. They believe Biden didn't win legitimately, but only by a 62-38 margin. But they may not come out and vote in midterms. A majority of Republicans, 61%, say that believing Trump was the rightful winner in 2020 was an important part of being a Republican. That's what being a Republican means to them. That number jumps to 77% for GOP voters who are extremely enthusiastic about voting next year. It's not the truth. It's just the mantra. Biden got screwed. That is the mantra. 844-967-2789. Going to the phones. Gino Liston in St. Paul, I guess on AM 950. I'm guessing, Gino, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, 950, right? I'm in Minnesota, so I don't know so much about the Wisconsin advertising and whatever, but I got to believe that, or would think that what Ron Johnson said a month ago or so about the election that many people voted for the down ticket, but they didn't vote for Trump. That's why Biden won Wisconsin, that there was no fraud. I would think that would be like a mantra for Wisconsin Democrats. Is that happening at all?
I can't speak for the Wisconsin Democrats. I don't know that they've isolated the Ron Johnson, Senator Ron Johnson, said it to a Democratic operative who was there clandestinely at a picnic or something. Kind of loud, probably doesn't play well like in a TV ad. But our friends at the People for People Corporation here in the state of Wisconsin, they have isolated that sound and sort of run it side by side with Paul Ryan. I don't know if you've heard it here on the Devil's Advocates, but we've used that sound right here on Devil Radio. Gino, we are banging that gong as much as we can. And really, quite frankly, Ron Johnson knows that Donald Trump didn't win the election. He expresses it, but he is still the biggest fire up the band, get the kooks all going. He understands. Here's what he understands, Gino. He understands that to win, the MAGA have to continue to convince their team that they got screwed. It's not so much that they don't believe it, it's that they believe they got screwed. I mean, after Donald Trump, think of it in these terms, Gino, I couldn't wait to go vote again. After Donald Trump got elected, bring on the next presidential, right? Isn't that how you felt? Well, that's how I felt. And I'm telling you what, man, that is how these people feel, Gino. They are fired up. I want to sneak at least one more grievance in quickly. Mark from the SAC. Welcome, Mark. Thanks for joining us. What do you got for us?
Yeah, we got to hammer home to the people that, Ron Johnson knows that he's lying, that, and he's just a
Mark. You know how Ron's going to be? But go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, well, his nose is beats out Pinocchio's that as far as for length, and we have to get our people fired up too. I mean, that we have to recognize that these guys are willing to do anything to win elections. They're willing to suppress the vote. They're willing to put on their clan hoods, at least invisible clan hoods, and keep people from voting. I mean, and that's what these people are. I mean, that we're moving back over 50 years in terms of that for election, people have the right to vote. I mean, that's what they're trying to do in all these states. I mean, and we had to confront them on that and say,
we do have to confront them, Mark, especially on the issue of women's reproductive rights. I cannot believe that women that can hear my voice or anywhere in this nation cannot be outraged at this moment that the Supreme Court has allowed the Texas abortion ban to stand. Got to find co-devilies. Former U.S. Attorney James Santelle joins me next.
Here we are, the young contender, scrappy, controversial, has an impressive reach. Devil Radio 92.7.
Hi, this is Brad from Zero Res. If you need someone to help with your carpet cleaning, business or residence, please give us a call. We have the best system available.
Hey there, Mr. Santelle. How are you today?
How are you today?
I'm well, thank you. You sound great. We got about 3.5 minutes.
Wonderful. Good. I'm glad to hear the sound is going well. And even if the world is not, right?
Quality. At Chad's Design Build, we are proud to partner with you, building a better world, one remodeled home at a time.
Is your smartphone really a smartphone if it doesn't have the Devil Radio app? No, it isn't. Download the Devil Radio app in the Apple or Google Play Store and listen to the greatest radio station ever whenever you're on the go or stationary or whatever. It doesn't matter. The Devil Radio app streams.
For this update, I'm Ed Donahue with an AP News Minute. Stocks finished higher. The Dow up 216 points. New York's governor is imposing a mask mandate for indoor public places.
Facing a winter surge in COVID-19 infections, New York Governor Kathy Hochul says masks will be required in all indoor public places unless the businesses or venues implement a vaccine requirement. Hochul says the decision is based on the state's 7-day case rate and an increase in hospitalizations. The mask mandate applies to both patrons and staff and will be in effect from December 13th, that's Monday, through January 15th, at which point it'll be reevaluated. Several other states already have mask mandates. Those include Washington, Oregon, Illinois, New Mexico, Nevada, and Hawaii. I'm Ben Thomas.
More states desperate to defend against the coronavirus are calling on the National Guard and other military personnel to assist virus-weary medical staffs at hospitals and other care centers. I'm Ed Donahue.
Are you wasting money on a timeshare you rarely use? Cancel it with Titan Exit Group. Get a free consultation and see how they can stop the never-ending maintenance fees and mortgage payments. In fact, if your timeshare contract is not terminated, you owe nothing, so you have nothing to lose. But those monthly fees. Get legally released from your timeshare, 100% guaranteed. Call now for your free consultation at 800-200-0894. 800-200-0894.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
For Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM. I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. A new survey conducted by a Milwaukee firm indicates that 50% of working women in Wisconsin are considering quitting their jobs sometimes, often, or constantly. That is 10 points higher than the national response of 40% of working women considering leaving their current job, indicating another workforce crisis Wisconsin is facing 21 months into the COVID-19 pandemic. Democratic lawmakers Senator Melissa Agard and Representative Lee Snodgrass proposed pieces of legislation yesterday that would create penalties for individuals who send unsolicited lewd photos of themselves to someone else, and for a practice referred to as stealthing, when someone removes sexual contraceptives without consent from a partner. A national study that included the city of Milwaukee found that cities that banned indoor dining in 2020, like Milwaukee, had 61% fewer COVID-19 cases than cities that ended their restrictions. You're listening to Devil Radio.
The Devil's Advocates may not agree on much, but funny is funny.
You're as cold as ice. Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Friday edition. I'm joined right now live via Zoom by a fine co-devil for at least the rest of the hour. He is former U.S. Attorney James Santelle, practicing attorney, friend of ours. Jim, welcome back.
Mike, I'm glad to be with you. A few things to talk about this afternoon, I suspect.
Yes, your timing is impeccable as always, Jim. Let's start with the Supreme Court allowing the Texas law to stand. And Jim, I guess not a shocker, but sort of a shocker. Roberts joined with the liberals. Gorsuch wrote for the majority, I guess, decision, the conservative decision. And Jim, there is an avenue to still get adjudicated relief if the abortion provider sues. But the fact that they've closed the avenue, the workaround, this SB 8, this Texas abortion law, was really set up to create citizen vigilantes. And that's a troubling part of the law. It's set up to do an end around on the enforcement mechanism of the federal courts. And effectively, Gorsuch and the majority allowed that to stand and said that is not a rationale because of sovereign immunity. You can't sue over that. Well, Jim, the government gets sued all the time. It seems like a very thin ruling in that regard, but it's the ruling of the Supreme Court now.
It is the ruling of the Supreme Court, and it is perhaps, as you indicated, not all that surprising given what we heard at the oral argument not too long ago. All these cases, this case in particular, seems to be on a fairly fast track. But you're absolutely right. Gorsuch writing for a majority, which is not including the Chief Justice. That's significant. Does say that we'll still let you pursue a suit here, but it's very narrow, as you indicated, against state licensing officials, like, for example, the executive director of the Texas Medical Board, authorized to take disciplinary action. So this is not some broad sweeping mechanism for people to go after this particular law. It's very narrow. And again, not entirely surprising in the wake of the oral argument, also shuts down the federal government's opportunity to appeal. And again, sends this larger message that the Supreme Court, in not suspending, at least until it decides Dobbs, which is this other case suspending, not suspending its ruling on Texas Abortion Bill 8, basically signaling what's going to happen in the larger issue. So not a good reason to be finding a lot of happiness in this decision, but again, for the fact that the Chief Justice himself said that the law is contrary to the court's decisions, including Roe, has the effect of denying the exercise of what we have held is a right protected by the Constitution. We'll see what John Roberts does in the Dobbs case coming out of Mississippi. But again, even with that, even with him joining Sotomayor, Kagan, and Breyer, you just don't have enough votes to overcome the majority. And in this larger case coming out probably in June or July of next year.
Jim, there's plenty of time to explore the overturning of Roe v. Wade or the death of 1,000 cuts, perhaps. But this strange precedent, this ability of a state to write a law and create vigilante enforcement, well, Jim, it just begs other states to follow this example. And, as it was pointed out in some of the reporting I read, well, what's to prevent a blue state? Let's call it Illinois. We're being heard right now on WCPT 820 in Chicago. What's to prevent Chicago or the state of Illinois from, basically creating vigilante anti-Second Amendment bans on a statewide level and creating no federal mechanism to overturn it, despite the fact it would probably be unconstitutional under current reading of the law? Jim, they don't seem to appreciate that it's not just one Republican partisan decision. It sets a terrible precedent for all future laws in every single state.
I could not agree more. And as you said, this is the United States Supreme Court. This is not even a federal district court, which can be appealed to the appeals court and ultimately up to the Supreme Court. Every single thing that the United States Supreme Court does, even on its so-called shadow docket, perhaps a bad name for its decisions in other areas, but nonetheless, every single thing that it does is not only meaningful for the particular case, as you're indicating, but has this precedential impact. You can be certain that there are attorneys out there on all sides of the aisle right now. There are partisans on all sides looking at this right now and saying, let's take a look what Gorsuch and the others did in fact say. Surprisingly, they did not follow up what they were talking about during the course of the oral argument, suggesting that they had some concerns with this private bounty hunter approach. This is, in effect, an endorsement of that procedural peculiarity, that oddity, and again, applicable not just in the area of privacy rights, but let's talk about many, many other things: healthcare, education, employment issues, commercial things. By not specifically saying, that in itself, putting abortion to one side, this peculiar mechanism is problematic. It undermines our system. It prevents appellate review. It prevents constitutional review. By not doing that, it sends exactly the message you just identified, Mike. That's the larger concern here. And it frankly, it is the subject right now, an awful lot of legislators out there who are thinking, what is next?
Folks, you are listening to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Your calls could be next at 844-967-2789. Jim, I've seen some recent reporting about, I guess it was a bipartisan panel put together by the Biden administration to consider changes to the Supreme Court. And while there weren't any earth-shattering bipartisan conclusions, it certainly, I read some of the writings of Lawrence Tribe, I believe, at the Washington Post, a famous law professor, and Tribe effectively says the court is broken. Confidence in the court is broken. Well, Jim, that was before this ruling. This is going to shatter confidence in the court. Or is that just my opinion?
No, I think it's your opinion. It's the opinion of many, many people out there who begin to identify in the recent decisions of this court sort of a partisan, not only split, but also analysis of these kinds of things that, if not directly contrary to what the Supreme Court has said for hundreds of years, certainly is taking us in a very different direction. And so this recent commission that, yes, did come out with its final report, really, my view is not a whole lot there to see, basically talking about the possibility of adding more to the Supreme Court, which you can do legislatively, and has been done many times during the course of our history. You could also address terms of service on the Supreme Court. That, my view, is it can only be done constitutionally by changing the Constitution itself. But the fact that the report is out there, that you've got people like Larry Tribe commenting about the need to do something, in the midst of a Supreme Court that is increasingly partisan. We've got an awful lot of very, very high, not only because they're high attention, but also divisive and atypical cases. Abortion is the big one. We've got a guns case coming up probably in June. We had another argument just yesterday on a religious freedom case. All these kinds of things that are being viewed, I think, by an awful lot of people like you, not putting on partisan hats, but saying, gosh, this is rolling back. This is rolling back rights that have been in place for a long period of time. This is expanding things that are plainly contrary to the best interests of America in guns and other areas. That's what's going to prompt and should prompt Americans generally to look at ways in which we can address a broken institution.
Well, Jim Santelle, I don't want to depress the audience in the crumbling democracy we now live in. So let's talk about something a little more encouraging, perhaps, that will be affected in the New York State courts. Letitia James, she is the Attorney General of the state of New York, my understanding, filed civil suit against the Trump organization. And she's the same one that shut down the Trump Foundation, the self-dealing foundation the Trump family had used to buy pictures of Don and stick money, using it like a slush fund. She also
University too, right?
Yeah, Trump University had $25 million settlement. And now Letitia James, who made it clear this week, she will not seek the governorship of New York. Too many pending prosecutions on her plate, and I appreciate that. But Letitia James is pushing for a civil deposition of the former president on January 7th. And really, he could, blow it off. He could not show up, but he doesn't have a lot of legal recourse. He can't claim executive privilege. It's a civil suit, etc. But he could show up and plead the fifth. So let's talk about this, because Cyrus Vance is seeking a similar parallel criminal investigation, and the underlying crime potentially is the misrepresentation of values of real estate fraud, tax cheating, effectively is the underlying civil question and the underlying criminal question. So now the former president stuck between a rock and a hard place, because if he goes and gives testimony in the civil trial, well, that could be held against him in a criminal matter. But if he goes and pleads the Fifth Amendment in the civil trial, unlike the criminal trial, it will be held against him in the civil proceeding. That's an admission of guilt in civil transaction, civil litigation, as I understand it. Jim, am I kind of laying out the rock in the hard place that Trump finds himself in?
Professor Crute, you've got it exactly right from start to finish. And so what is the law school that you're going to start soon to follow up?
University.
There you go. There you go. It is exactly right. This is Letitia James. We've talked about this particular civil investigation that she's been going. It's been going on since March of 2019, very much parallel to what Cyrus Vance is doing, as you just indicated, in the criminal area, addressing tax issues, property valuations. You may recall specifically, we talked about this peculiar easement on the Seven Springs property in New York and the value of that. And so this has been going on for a long time. So she pursues the deposition of the former president about this. And you've got it just right. He's got a couple of alternatives. He needs to show up, first of all. It's just a common theme we're talking about a lot these days. You're subpoenaed. You need to show up one way or another. If you do, in fact, show up, you've got an absolute right. He does to claim the Fifth Amendment, suggesting that if he talks about his own behavior, that will tend to incriminate him. And what does that mean? That means that he knows something. He believes that the information he would provide from his own lips would tend to suggest he's engaged in criminal conduct. And yes, you're absolutely right. If he does that, which probably is what his criminal attorneys are going to recommend he do, then Letitia James can assume, and the courts can assume in the context of that civil case, that his answers to the questions would not be favorable to him, just the opposite, that they would suggest that indeed there was some undervaluing or misstatement of properties and all the other things that she's looking at. So this is no small thing. And again, as going down the street with respect to Cyrus Vance, if he does in fact sit down and talk about his valuations, make statements there, of course, the former president can't talk without lying about things, as we well know, then Cyrus Vance can absolutely use that deposition in his criminal investigation that's already been nabbing, obviously not only the corporation, but also Weisselberg, still waiting on some larger charges there coming out of the DA, perhaps by the end of the year, if not soon after that. But the president, the former president, is exactly in the trick box that you've identified. And I'm sure right now, if his attorneys are talking with him sensibly, they've got to defer to his decision. But his criminal exposure is probably even greater than what could happen inside the civil litigation that Letitia James is pursuing.
But Jim, I've signed a few commercial notes in my day. His criminal or civil liability opens him up to substantial financial liability. His corporation is done. It's finished. I mean, if he basically, you've already got your CEO, CFO, Weisselberg under criminal indictment. If Trump either goes in and claims he has no knowledge of how his corporation's being run, or the opposite, that he's criminally complicit in all the stuff, either way, Jim, he's Scrooged financially as the operator of a viable corporation. Who's going to loan to that guy? Although I have always questioned who loaned to him in the first place, other than Deutsche Bank.
Deutsche Bank, right, is still out there, very much a part of this, and that's the one that certainly comes to mind. And again, you've hit it right on target, which is that maybe he sits down and thinks, gosh, my corporations are falling apart here. This is probably the last thing that he has. Maybe there's some familial exposure, his own members of his own family. And that's an assessment you make. Again, notwithstanding what I just said about the criminal exposure, which of course is usually at the top of the list, money is significant. And this is Donald Trump's life, his commercial life that is at stake here, right in New York State.
James Santelle, my fine co-devil for the rest of this big hour. You could be a part. Join us on the phones, 844-967-2789. Jim, when we come back, I want to ask you about Mark Meadows. He was going to testify, then he withdrew the fact that he's going to testify to the January 6th committee, but somewhere along the lines, he dropped a PowerPoint presentation. He submitted it to them. Well, it's hard to call that executive privilege at this point. And Jim, it's very damning. We shared some of it on the show yesterday. Want to get your opinions today? Come back with us. Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Find us the guest, James Santelle, former U.S. attorney. Come back. I know you will.
Social media? You've kept up with the times. If you can do that, you can definitely save for retirement. Go to aceyourretirement.org, and in just 3 minutes, you'll get free tips to help boost your retirement savings. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
600,000 Wisconsin families are receiving checks to help take care of their kids thanks to the expanded child tax credit passed by Joe Biden and congressional Democrats. Ron Johnson voted against these checks for Wisconsin families, despite voting for a 2017 tax break that put more money into the pockets of millionaires like himself. It's time to vote Ron Johnson out of office. MoveOn.org political action, paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Poll.moveon.org, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Hi, Don from Wisco Home Goods here. Jeremy and I handcraft our 100% non-toxic candles from locally sourced materials in our Madison, Wisconsin facility. Wisco Home Goods candles come in a variety of unique blends and scents that you're sure to love. Add a little warmth to your home as the days get colder with one of our Midnight Cypress or Up North candles. Order at wiscohomegoods.com. Natural, healthy, nourishing candles and more at wiscohomegoods.com.
To some, a baby's babbling doesn't mean much, but it does, especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Learn more at autismspeaks.org, brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
First caller in today, Uncle Steve.
It's getting close to Thanksgiving because there's a lot of turkeys out there, and I've got 3 of them in mind. First of all, that judge in Kenosha County, I don't recall there being a trial for the dead people. The second one is the media. Every time these Republicans come out, they should ask, what's your plan? What's your idea? And the last thing is Manchin and Sinema.
Uncle Steve, that was a turducken of a phone call, my man.
The Devil's Advocates, weekdays from 3 to 5. Grass-fed, locally raised, 100% organic. The Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Friday edition. I got a fine co-devil for the rest of the 3 o'clock hour. He's James Santelle, former U.S. attorney, friend of mine. And Jim, I got to ask you about this strange timeline of Mark Meadows. The Chief's chief. He's got a new book out, a tell-all, and he went on Sean Hannity, went on the radio, and he's disclosing a lot of information that, he's now also claiming would fall under the privy of executive privilege, and therefore he cannot testify to the January 6th committee. Well, Jim, you can't have it both ways. You can't go out there and say what you want in public and then also try to shield that very same information from the January 6th committee. Can you, sir?
There are an awful lot of things going on with Mark Meadows that are curious here. Again, head scratchers, as I often say. This is a man, as you said right before the break, who's been in and out. He's provided a lot of materials, some of which are very inculpating. You mentioned the PowerPoint presentation, emails.
Define that word just for dumb guys like me and the audience. What does that mean, Chubb?
What is incriminating mean? Or
yeah, incriminating. I just wanted to make sure I heard that word right. So Mark Meadows has incriminated himself, maybe the former boss and a few others. But please continue, Jim.
Sure. So among the other things that Mark Meadows has already provided to Benny Thompson, Thompson acknowledges, he says that Meadows has already provided a November email that discussed appointing an alternative slate of electors to keep the former president in power. There's a January 5th message about putting National Guard on standby, text messages with a member of Congress in which the lawmaker acknowledged that there was a plan to object to this, Biden's victory, to which Meadows says, "I love it," much like Donald Trump Jr. said in another setting many years ago. Text exchanges about the need for Trump to issue a public statement aimed at persuading the mob marauding through the Capitol to stand down. All these kinds of things suggesting not only understanding what's going on, the significance of it, but also the legal implications too. So that's already in the committee's hands. And in addition to the book that he's published, the public appearance he's made, now he's gone for some reason in just the opposite direction. He was supposed to appear Wednesday, for his deposition. Like Steve Bannon, didn't show up at all. Not only has he said that I'm not going to do that, now just yesterday he's also filed a lawsuit against the Pelosi and others and the committee itself, saying that this is in violation, it's too broad, violation of his constitutional rights. This is just a procedural mess, to use the very sophisticated legal word. And I wonder aloud what his lawyers are telling him, because now he's half in, half out. Plainly, he's also exposed himself to criminal prosecution. But the committee has said that they're going to be considering him plainly, along with others, including Jeffrey Clark, to be referred to the Department of Justice for criminal contempt prosecution. He's got the worst of all worlds right now. And I wonder out loud whose advice he's getting. And the one thing that unifies this, once again, perhaps, is maybe some conversations with the former president who said, stop cooperating and go in the opposite direction. That's where Mark Meadows seems to be today.
Jim, these defendants and these criminal contempt of Congress things, let's start with Steve Bannon. I don't know if you said it in a prior appearance here, or if I read it somewhere in the reporting I've read, but effectively Bannon has the keys to his own jail cell were that to be the case, because what they're trying to do is compel testimony. His refusal to give testimony is a criminal act. He's in contempt of Congress, but he could reverse that position, effectively give testimony and get out of jail free. Could he not, Jim? So there's no real there ultimately. If all you're really doing, and to my opinion, Jim, all they're trying to do is muddle the message and, of course, drag it out and delay.
You know, on those points, I think you're exactly right, Mike. That's what this is all about. One of the things we learned just this past week is when is Bannon's trial on his contempt set? July 18th. And this we have talked about before, which means assuming he's convicted at that time of, again, not showing up, criminal contempt of the subpoena, that gets affirmed by the Court of Appeals probably in the fall of next year. And we're talking about some resolution of that case a year from now. So this is no quick result. I would also say that the criminal prosecution itself does not result in a directive from the district court to have him testify If he were to say today, listen, I'm going to do that, we all know that the real reason for doing all of this is to get his testimony. And it may be then the principles of prosecution, the reason for going ahead with this are no longer there. But the criminal prosecution itself, when it's done, if he is convicted, if he ends up spending some time in jail, does not compel him to get back before that committee. That's going to have to be another proceeding. And that's why this process in itself, even if we go down the same road with Mark Meadows and Roger Stone and Jeffrey Clark and John Eastman, all these folks, it doesn't necessarily get what the committee needs. What the committee does have, of course, are these documents now coming from the archives, presumably soon. But on these testimonial pieces, this is going to be a long time coming. And again, unless the district court at sentencing as a part of the supervision expressly directs someone to testify, which I think is probably outside of their ambit, it doesn't get the result that we think it's going to get. It punishes you. It responds to the particular conduct of the past, which is not showing up, not abiding the subpoena. Now, does that have a good deterrent effect? You bet it does. Absolutely. So it's significant. I'm not saying it wouldn't go ahead and do it, but just that it may not have the result. And if it does have a result, it's going to be a long time coming.
Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates. That's James Santelle, former U.S. attorney. Jim, got to turn our attention to the backyard politics. The Trump-supported former, I call him corrupted, Wisconsin Supreme Court Justice Michael Gableman, special counselor, if you will, Gableman, is doing this partisan investigation. And now he's threatening to jail the mayor of my fair city, Madison, Wisconsin. The city attorney said, what an absurd abuse of power. This is clearly an abuse of power. But Jim, where do you see this ending with Gableman and his persecution?
It is difficult to know because, as we know, the reason for this investigation, whatever it is he's saying, the things he does every day, these ridiculous, and they are ridiculous in quite literally the legal sense, the practical sense, even the political sense. They're ridiculous things that he's saying out there. What is the purpose of it? We know well. It's parallel to what Donald Trump and others are doing in the federal system, which is delay. By delaying and continuing to keep something alive that has no there. What are you doing? You're sending this message to people who are not listening to your program, not reading the things that you're reading. Gosh, if a former Supreme Court justice is continuing to investigate, there must be something there. And maybe, if the mayor of Madison is not cooperating, gosh, that's a problem too. Maybe my future election in 2022, maybe that should also be subject to greater scrutiny. That's what it's about. This investigation needed to be stopped a long time ago. Again, I'm a big advocate for going into court and petitioning to do just that.
Michael Gableman, he has no decency. James Santelle, you are certainly a decent man. We appreciate you coming around. Former U.S. attorney, friend of ours. Jim, have a wonderful weekend. And looking forward to having you fill in for me when I'm off to Vegas. I believe that will be Wednesday, December 22nd. You will be the Devil's Advocate that day. James Santelle, have a wonderful weekend. We'll talk real soon, my friend.
You also, all your listeners, looking forward to the 22nd as well. Thanks so much, Mike. Have a good afternoon.
Come back, hour 2, more Devils.
Hey, I'm here from Knuckleheads. Have you seen our new location yet? Come on down to 520 State Street for all your CBD needs. We have a huge selection of gummies, oils, and a variety of other CBD products. We also have a gigantic walk-in humidor. The knowledgeable staff at Knuckleheads will work with you to find exactly what you need. Mention Devil Radio at checkout to get 15% off your next order. Knuckleheads, now at 520 State Street. We'll see you there.
Wisconsin, you know that Drew Holiday and Brooke Lopez are champions on the court, but did you know they're also champions for our community?
Hey, Wisconsinites, Drew Holiday here.
And Brooke Lopez here.
I love being a champion.
And today I'm asking you to be a champion citizen.
Defend your right to vote and exercise your freedom to vote.
It's more important now than ever because politicians are trying to restrict our freedom to vote.
They're worried about our power, so they want to take it away.
Don't let them do that.
You've got to block that shot.
Paid for by the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign.
You are listening to WTTN 1580 AM Columbus, W224 EG Madison, always streaming on the Devil Radio app.
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. Today, the Supreme Court left in place Texas's new ban on abortions, but allowed clinics to sue. Abortions in Texas cannot be performed after cardiac activity is detected in an embryo at around 6 weeks and before some women even know they're pregnant. The AP's Gary Fields reports allowing lawsuits is the only change.
It said, okay, as an abortion provider, you can do that. And you can actually file this suit. So this will now go back and work its way through the court system. The immediate big point, though, is that the court didn't issue a stay or a stoppage on the law.
The ban in Texas makes no exceptions for rape or incest. The prosecution rested in the sex abuse trial of Ghislaine Maxwell. A key accuser in New York testified Maxwell and her companion, Jeffrey Epstein, forced themselves on her when she was just 16. At the funeral for former Senator Bob Dole, President Biden said Dole gave his all for his country.
Now it's our job to start standing up for what's right for America. I salute you, my friend. Your nation salutes you.
Dole died Sunday. He was 98. Besides serving in the Senate, Bob Dole served our country during World War II. There was a memorial for Dole at the World War II Memorial in Washington. Tom Hanks says Dole is solely responsible for its existence.
How many structures in this city exist but for the efforts of one man?
A statewide mask mandate for Pennsylvania school children was thrown out by the state Supreme Court. More states desperate to defend against the coronavirus are calling on the National Guard and other military personnel to assist. Staff at hospitals and other care centers are being worn down by a rise in virus cases. Consumer prices jumped 6.8% over the past year, the highest such inflation rate in 39 years. The Dow finished up 216 points. This is AP News.
Are you wasting money on a timeshare you rarely use? Cancel it with Titan Exit Group. Get a free consultation and see how they can stop the never-ending maintenance fees and mortgage payments. In fact, if your timeshare contract is not terminated, you owe nothing, so you have nothing to lose. But those monthly fees. Get legally released from your timeshare, 100% guaranteed. Call now for your free consultation at 800-200-0894. 800-200-0894.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Devil Radio 92.7 FM, covering all the malarkey you can handle.
Hi, this is Brad from Zero Res. If you need someone to help with your carpet cleaning, business or residence, please give us a call. We have the best system available and an amazing team of friendly technicians. Call us at 848-9000 or schedule online at zeroresmadison.com.
Is your smartphone really a smartphone if it doesn't have the Devil Radio app? No, it isn't. Download the Devil Radio app in the Apple or Google Play Store and listen to the greatest radio station ever whenever you're on the go or stationary or whatever. It doesn't matter. The Devil Radio app is streaming 24/7. You know what? I'll tell you something. There's nothing better than a hot sausage, couple 2-3 cold beers, and Devil Radio on the box.
I'm here with Todd Osborne from Orion Inspections. Todd, customer service, it's pretty important, especially when you're the guy and you will literally be the person going into someone's home, be it a radon inspection, be it a home inspection. Todd, what can people expect when you knock on the door?
Well, I'll tell you what, Crudy, I spent a number of years as a painter and I was in and out of people's homes all the time. And, you know, one thing about painting is you don't want to drip anything on anybody's stuff. So I take a lot of great care to take care of the home as if it were my own. One thing about a home inspection too is it is a non-invasive inspection. So we don't really touch anything. We don't move anything. But I have a great deal of respect for people's belongings.
Now, Todd, I spoke with a client of yours very recently, and they were quite impressed. Visual inspection of the attic, and it was difficult to get to the attic. Then you pulled out your camera and you allowed them to have a visual inspection, even though they were incapable of going up into the home's attic. Is that part of the service that Orion Inspections offers?
There's a bare minimum standard operating procedures that we have. but that is just a bare minimum. I try to take it just at least a little bit further. I don't want to go too crazy to have people expect certain things out of me all the time, but yeah, I will go above and beyond in order to at least get it, like with the attic, be able to get my eyeballs on it somehow to at least see what's going on upstairs.
And Todd Osborne, you're advertising on Devil Radio, so that must make you a good person. If you'd like a home inspection or a radon inspection from Orion Inspections, call our friend Todd. He's going to be the one that comes knocking on your door, and you want him there because he's a trained professional. He's certified. He is Todd Osborne from Orion Inspections. Find them online at orioninspections.com. Not like the Irish guy, like the constellation, orioninspections.com.
Devil Radio programming is produced live in the Solidarity Realty Studios. Find them at solidarityrealty.com. Solidarity Realty. There is an alternative.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves and corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. 3, 2, 1. Now live from the Devil Radio Studios in Madison, Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning. Welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Here is your host, Mike Crute.
Welcome back. Hour 2 of the Friday edition of the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, sliding into the 4 o'clock happy hour. Always happier when we get audience participation. Dial us up, 844-967-2789. I cannot be the only one expressing the grievances. Just makes me sort of a bitchy moany sort. I need some others. I need some help. I won't judge you. I just, I need your help. But I do have at least one more grievance, and I appreciate everyone listening on a Friday afternoon. I'll try not to sound like I'm bitching too badly, but yeah, I got a lot of problems with the crazy investigation going on in the state of Wisconsin. Michael Gableman, as I often call him, the corrupted former Wisconsin Supreme Court justice, who back last November declared the elections rigged, showed himself to be quite the partisan. And now the Speaker of the Assembly in the state of Wisconsin, guy Robin Voss is his name. We call him Boss Voss occasionally around here. Voss put this guy in charge to go out and, smear the outcome of the former election. And this investigation being done sort of in a non-transparent way. Got to do all the investigating. Can't tell you what's in the investigation till we're done with the investigation. At least that's what they are claiming. But they're also trying to throw the mayor of Madison in Green Bay in jail for failing to properly respond to the pompous, arrogant, corrupted former Supreme Court justice. The headline here at the Raw Story, and I always love it when Wisconsin politics become national politics. The absurdity is stunning. Chief of Wisconsin GOP's election review, that means Gableman, blasted for effort to arrest the mayor of Madison. It goes on, folks. Madison City Attorney Michael Haas, in a letter Thursday to Waukesha County Judge Ralph Ramirez, responded to Michael Gableman's attempt to arrest the mayor, Satya Rhodes Conway, as part of his partisan review of the 2020 election. Haas said Gableman's efforts to arrest Rhodes Conway, where'd it go? Oh, here it is. And Green Bay Mayor Eric Gingrich was unprofessional and abusive process in a bad faith effort to publicly harass local officials with no legal basis. Gableman, who is reviewing the election on behalf of Speaker Robin Voss and other Assembly Republicans, has filed a petition in Waukesha County Circuit Court. And why the hell the Waukesha County? The city of Madison, not in Waukesha County. Green Bay, not in Waukesha County. So why he ran to the conservative Waukesha County? What, to find a sympathetic judge that says, go arrest the mayor of 2 cities I've got no jurisdiction over? Let me read on. So Gableman, who is reviewing the election on behalf of Speaker Robin Voss and other Assembly Republicans, filed a petition in Waukesha County Circuit Court that would enable Ramirez to have the Waukesha County's Sheriff's Office travel to Madison and Green Bay, arrest the mayors, and detain them in the county jail in order to force them to testify about the election. Let me see the oxymoronic part of this. The Waukesha County Sheriff is going to drive through Jefferson County, onto Dane County, go up to the city county building and arrest the mayor of Madison and haul her back to Waukesha County, where they might actually have jurisdiction if this were some sort of a legal process. But it's not. It's crazy. The former Wisconsin Supreme Court Justice, corrupted, Crudy's version, has had a lengthy back and forth with a number of cities and state agencies over his assertion that he has the ability to enforce subpoenas against officials. Democratic Attorney General Josh Kaul is currently fighting a lawsuit with Gableman over his ability to subpoena Wisconsin Elections Commission Administrator Megan Wolf. City officials in Madison and Green Bay have worked with Gableman's office to provide an extensive amount of election-related documents he requested through a subpoena and believed that his request to have the mayors testify was no longer valid. Throughout the Gableman review, local officials have complained about the lack of communication with Gableman's office and his highly paid staff. Gableman's cashing $11,000 a month. Supposed to be done with this investigation in October. Oh, he's just getting started. On the taxpayer dollar, of course. City officials have said they'd be happy to testify before Gableman, but would only do so in a public setting, such as before the Assembly Committee on Campaigns and Elections. The very ones that empowered the subpoena that Gableman's waving around at people, which is not, as it's written here, which is nominally the body overseeing the review. Gableman has said he wants to hear the testimony in private because he'd never lie about what people said in private. But lawyers for the city say he doesn't have the legal ability to do so. In his letter, Haas highlights a number of ways in which communication with Gableman and his staff has been confusing, contradictory, or non-existent. Here's a quote. First, Mayor Rhodes Conway and the city of Madison have attempted to engage in professional and open communication with Attorney Gableman, which has not been reciprocated. The mayor remains willing to testify in public before the legislative committee, which issued the subpoena to discuss the conduct of the election in Madison, all of which is public information. Attorney Gableman has not offered any specific time, forum, or format for a deposition. Haas, like Gingrich's attorney, said that Gableman had completely mischaracterized the facts and his petition to the judge. The move was almost comical, almost funny. Given these facts, this action is frivolous, and the absurdity of the special counsel's assertion regarding the mayor's compliance with the subpoena is stunning. 844-967-2789. Just a skosh more. The lawsuit over testimony of WEC Administrator Wolf involves many of the same issues and is pending in the Dane County Circuit Courts. Both Rhodes Conway, that's the mayor of Madison, and Gingrich, that's the mayor of Green Bay's lawyers, have requested the Gableman's petition be dismissed or for the matter to be settled after the Dane County case is resolved. A scheduling conference in the mayor case is set to be held on Friday afternoon, and the hearing is scheduled for December 22nd. And I find that timing very conspicuous in that the Attorney General suit, talking about the non-validity of the subpoena to Megan Wolf, well, that was scheduled to be heard on December 23rd. But of course, Gableman ran to a sympathetic court and said, got to move it up at least one day, got to beat him to the punch. 844-967-2789. It's just crazy here in the state I live in. And this investigation feels a lot like a witch hunt. Have you ever been a communist? Have you ever associated with communists? Have you ever accepted Mark Zuckerberg money for an election? Yes, like 200 other communities in the state of Wisconsin did. But it's only 5 Democratic mayors and apparently only 2 worthy of being jailed over the non-crime, which was already litigated in the state courts when it happened in real time. But outside funding in a pandemic to help successfully run elections, that's the crime that's being alleged here. 844-967-2789. Throw them all in jail. Pizza Box Mike, how you been, brother?
Hey, man, don't let Jabba the Gableman get you down. It's just time to Star Wars his ass, if you know what I mean. I mean, don't you like a challenge? Don't you like being the underdog? And you know what? There's going to be a need for your station as long as this keeps going on, right?
Well, I certainly feel relevant, Michael, if that's what you're asking.
Look, it's time to have fun. You can't do much when the courts are jammed against you, when you have a gerrymandered, districts for elections. So you have to publicly humiliate them at every turn. And I'm telling you, I'm just getting ready to start. I just got a case of pizza boxes from a guy that knows what I'm using them for. And, just a small place. We're not going to mention the name. They don't need any pushback, but they're plain boxes. So I can start making signs for, Branch in the Hut and Jabba the Gableman. Have a whole series for them.
Michael, you're nothing if not clever and classy.
It's pretty easy, isn't it? Look at the characters.
Now, buddy, you've got your own big show right here on Devil Radio, Saturdays at noon outside the Pizza Box, if you know what I'm saying. What are you talking about this week, Pizza Box?
I think I'm going to rant. I think it's going to be like, 5 Fridays in a row. And, how long is it going to take for us to get up and say, no, we just can't let this happen? Now, I'm going to tell you that the people in Germany, became what the Republicans are right now, which is Nazi sympathizers. We can't let that happen. Apathy is really the key here right now. We have to end this apathy, and you have to get out of your comfort zone and stop telling me that you just want to enjoy your golden years, because your grandkids won't have many if you do this.
First, they came for the Solidarity Singers, and I did nothing. Pizza Box, can't wait to your big show on Saturday outside the Pizza Box right here at Devil Radio, live on Saturdays at noon, replay Sundays at noon. Pizza Box, hope you have a wonderful weekend, my friend.
Thank you.
Thank you. 844-967-2789. My pal Profane Ronnie, always livening up the conversation. Ronnie, how you been?
Living the dream. You go from classy Pizza Box Mike to Profane Ronnie. Good luck with that. So I was feeling sorry for you because nobody was calling. So that's why I called. I don't really have a grievance other than, Republicans. But I want to thank you because you've given me an argument. I'm going to see my brothers for the first time in almost 2 years at Christmas. And the whole thing where you started out that they don't believe that it was stolen because they can't wait to go vote. So that's going to be my thing. Oh, so it was stolen. So are you going to vote in the next election? Why would you vote if it was stolen? If you believe it was stolen, why would you even bother voting? Tell me that. So thank you for the good words. You've already given me an argument.
Profane Ronnie, you go do your efforts at voter suppression if necessary. We are the Devil's Advocates. Your Friday grievances. Air them here. Going to the 420 break, coming back with the phone lines at 844-967-2789.
You love them enough to do anything for them.
Dad, can we make 200 cookies for my bake sale tomorrow?
Let's do this. Including checking nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're correctly buckled in the back seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
600,000 Wisconsin families are receiving checks to help take care of their kids thanks to the expanded child tax credit passed by Joe Biden and congressional Democrats. Ron Johnson voted against these checks for Wisconsin families despite voting for a 2017 tax break that put more money into the pockets of millionaires like himself. It's time to vote Ron Johnson out of office. MoveOn.org political action paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Poll.moveon.org, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
President Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election.
Collectively, Republicans got 1.661 million votes, 51,000 more votes than Trump got.
He exhausted his cases. He exhausted the court challenges.
All the Republicans voted for Trump the way they voted for the assembly candidates, and he would have won.
It was not rigged. It was not stolen. Donald Trump lost the election. Joe Biden won the election. It's really clear.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org.
19, brought to you by CDC and the Ad Council. With so much loss, you may feel like you can't handle it all. Meditation or other spiritual practices can help you feel more grounded and better able to cope. Find more self-care and coping tips at coping-19.org.
Spruce up your home with non-toxic vegan candles from Wisco Home Goods. I'm Don, one of the owners of this family-owned Midwestern business in Madison, Wisconsin. Our candles are 100% sustainable and come in a variety of unique blends and scents that make a perfect holiday gift. Plus, at Wisco Home Goods, we believe in giving back. With our Do Good, Smell Good campaign, a portion of the proceeds go to local charities. So support a Midwestern company that supports our local communities. Order now at wiscohomegoods.com.
The Devil's Advocates, tackling the issues you're not allowed to talk about at the dinner table.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. We'll get back to the phone lines right now at 844-967-2789. First up will be TJ from Fort Atkinson. How you doing, TJ?
I'm doing pretty good, but are we doing grievances today?
Oh, if you got one, lay it on me, TJ.
Oh, I've got a list of grievances. I was just telling the guy that answered the phone that I live in Fort Atkinson. You know, we just decided without really much talk at all that we're done having masks on our school kids because, you know, one died, but that was months ago. So, I can't believe it. The whole county, no masks, nobody cares. We're still losing people every single day, and they don't care. Our hospitals are full. They don't care.
You're in Jefferson County, TJ?
Uh-huh. Yes, I am.
You know, Jefferson County has sustained as many COVID deaths. I believe the number is 344. I'm going by memory. It has sustained as many deaths as Brown County, which is Green Bay, and it has nearly sustained as many deaths as Dane County, which contains the largest second largest metropolitan.
I work for Dane County, and they are trying so hard, but they are surrounded by idiots like Jefferson County. And, you know, people like me, I'm dragging it back and forth every day. And I know that most of the people in Fort, they work in Madison or they work in Milwaukee. And then we got people in Beloit coming up to work in Fort because their wages stink so bad they got to come all the way to Fort and get $14 an hour.
TJ, let me ask you, have you been going out to restaurants?
I won't. I've been in the medical field for 30 years. All my friends are nurses and CNAs, and we are tired. We're tired.
No, I believe it. CJ, I appreciate what you do. A quick headline here regarding restaurants. A study by researchers at Drexel University Dornsife School of Public Health examined 11 cities, including Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and found that those that were allowed to continue bans on indoor dining, no indoor dining during the pandemic, saw a 61% drop in the number of COVID cases. That's pretty stunning. Milwaukee was one of 4 cities in the study allowed to continue the prohibition on indoor dining while the research went on. The study examined the case rates and individuals' reopening dates, and this was a study from March 30th to October 1st of 2020. But I can tell you, TJ, if you wear masks and you don't go to public restaurants, and I mean, I got friends that are in the restaurant business. I hate to say this, but it's about the worst possible thing you can do. Probably next to standing at a bar, drinking, talking too loud in your friend's face, because that's what you do when you're standing in a bar. And I'm going to be as guilty as the next one, TJ. I and my crew were going out for a nice dinner and some drinks this weekend, and, you know, we'll have a good time. And hopefully my vaccinated guys will not get COVID. But I can tell you, we are not done with this pandemic yet. And the mortality rates, especially in small rural counties like Jefferson, holy schmoly. 844-967-2789. Going back to the phones. Don from Randolph. Don, welcome. What do you got for us?
Yeah, is this anything to go Friday?
Well, for you it is, Don. Anything goes, man. Lay the grievances on us.
Up here, about 20 miles north of Columbus, the Samsung company is introducing a 4,000-acre solar panel system that just the residents are finding out about now, that the large farmers in the area knew about 6-8 months ago already. And that means that they're going to put fences up around our houses about 100 feet away, and we're going to be losing rural residential will be losing a ton of land value, and nobody knew nothing about it because it's all a secret. And I do remember 6 to 8 years ago, didn't Mr. Walker sign into the effect to streamline new projects in Wisconsin without impact studies first? And all of a sudden,
yeah, but he mostly did that for petroleum pipelines like Enron and, of course, foreign corporations like Foxconn so they could suck water out of Lake Michigan. Don, it's unfortunate that you're being affected by a green energy farm, a solar farm, if you will. I like the fact that they're going solar. It's unfortunate that someone's backyard, and apparently it's yours, Don, and therefore your property values are being affected. I feel bad for you, my friend. I don't know that I got anything more than sympathy for you, Don, but wouldn't you like to see more solar farms, just perhaps with a little more prior notice?
That's just it, the prior notice, because the larger farmers got the notice in the area. They went up buying farmland where nobody even knew about it to begin with. I'm wondering if they're using federal funds. Samsung is using federal funds to possibly establish this 4,000-acre solar farm. There's at least 10, 15 rural residential people out here that are going to lose probably over $1 million worth of land value because of this.
Wow, Don. Well, I feel for you, brother. I don't know the answer. I have not heard that story until you shared it with us, but we'll try to keep an eye on that space, as they say. 844-967-2789. I didn't offer you solutions, just a platform for laying out your grievances. Welcome back, Wisco Paul.
Hey, how you doing, Crudy? Happy Friday to you.
Good, man. I hope you don't have a problem I can't solve.
I don't think you can solve my problems, but anyway, I feel sorry for people in the healthcare industry. They are effectively destroying it. Somebody's going to have to pay the bill for all this nonsense and not wearing masks, not getting vaccinated, and it's going to be a big bill. So that's my grievance. The people that refuse to get vaccinated and the people that refuse to wear a mask. You're hurting yourself and you're hurting others. It's just and you're wrecking the healthcare industry because, to be quite frank, the nurses are being the nursing profession is just carrying a heavy burden. It's a sad situation. And do I got a second for one last one or no?
You got about 30 seconds. Make it quick, Paul.
Okay, the thought of 2032 gerrymandering in this state is mind-boggling, and that is what I think is going to happen. 2032, Crudy. Thanks for taking my call. Have a great day, and I love the nurses.
Yeah, we all love the nurses, Paul. Yeah, we got crap locked in probably for another decade. Tony Evers will not even submit the People's Commission's map, perhaps a map of Democratic formulation, but we're screwed on redistricting. I think. Come back, more Devils.
Devil Radio, your fix for progressive news talk from Verona to Sun Prairie. Always streaming at darnwi.com.
At Knuckleheads, our knowledgeable staff knows the ins and outs of CBD. Whether you're a veteran of cannabis like the Devil Radio team or a first-time customer, the Knuckleheads team has the information to answer all your CBD questions. Never heard of a tincture? We got you covered. Looking for something to address those achy joints? We got just the thing. Stop into our new location at 520 State Street and mention Double Radio to our knowledgeable staff to get 15% off your order today. Knuckleheads, your one-stop shop for CBD in Madison.
This is Chad Spate. Are you thinking about improving or expanding your home? At Chad's Design Build, we're committed to making your home comfortable, healthy, attractive, durable, and sustainable. In fact, those commitments spell our name. And we deliver these services with our outstanding team of professionals who will respect you and your home. Visit our website at chadsdesignbuild.com to learn more about how we are building a better world, one remodeled home at a time.
Subpoenas surrounding the Capitol insurrection. I'm Jackie Quinn with an AP News Minute. The House committee investigating the January 6th Capitol insurrection has issued subpoenas for 6 more people. The panel says they were involved in the organization and planning of rallies to overturn Joe Biden's 2020 election victory. Across the U.S., the highest level of inflation in a generation is bringing new pressures to homes and businesses. Consumer prices jumped 6.8% in November. President Biden calls it a bump in the road.
It's not gone down quickly enough, but I think it will.
Prosecutors rested their case in the trial for socialite Ghislaine Maxwell, with a woman testifying both Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein forced themselves on her when she was just 16. In Washington,
Bob Dole was one of the greatest of the greatest generation.
Past presidents, lawmakers, and family members attended the funeral for former Senator Bob Dole. Stocks ended higher. I'm Jackie Quinn.
Are you wasting money on a timeshare you rarely use? Cancel it with Titan Exit Group. Get a free consultation and see how they can stop the never-ending maintenance fees and mortgage payments. In fact, if your timeshare contract is not terminated, you owe nothing, so you have nothing to lose. But those monthly fees, get legally released from your timeshare, 100% guaranteed. Call now for your free consultation at 800-200-0894, 800-200-0894.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
For Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM. I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines. This week, a member on the Madison School Board has called on the full board to address the district's policy in regards to access to COVID-19 sick leave for teachers and other district staff that experience a close contact or contract COVID-19. The current district policy requires staff to use paid time off and sick leave, but board member Nikki Vandermeulen says that disproportionately affects hourly workers who have less access to paid time off. Yesterday, Public Health Madison and Dane County announced roughly half of the 5 to 11-year-old population in Dane County has received at least 1 dose of COVID-19 vaccine, according to the County Health Department's preliminary data. Cloudy skies throughout the day today with winds up to 20 miles an hour and a strong chance for rain throughout the afternoon. High today of 38 degrees. A mix of rain and snow expected this evening with a chance for thunder and an overnight low around 30 degrees. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Devil's Advocates, tackling the issues you're not allowed to talk about at the dinner table.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Welcome back to the Friday edition, the 4 o'clock happy hour. It rolls on with your Friday grievances, Festivus style. 'Tis the season. Let's get to them. 844-967-2789. Tom, you're up. Tom, welcome back. What do you got for us?
Hey, Michael.
Hey, Tom.
It's a good day for grievance. It's a great day for grievances, but I've just got a couple of positive things to say. First of all, if those people are out there, like Wisco is talking about supporting nurses, I highly recommend people go on the internet and check out hashtag #WhyUW Nurses Need a Union. I think whoever has the best story wins, and these stories, if they don't move you, I don't want to be your friend. Hashtag #WhyUW Nurses Need a Union. And Act 10 was devastating to a lot of people, but especially to these people who are on the front lines with COVID. And also a shout out to Shepherd Janeway, who is running against Mary Jo, what's her name, for school board. This is a great example. If you've got somebody who's a fairly right-wing kind of bigoted person running unopposed for school board, and basically it went out in the rainbow community that, hey, we can't have this person run will somebody just step up and do it? And Shep did. So please support Shepherd Janeway for school board this term as well.
Real quick, Tom, Mary Jo Walters, I believe her name, is that the same Mary Jo Walters that ran for lieutenant governor once upon a time, sort of on the crackpot ticket?
She ran as a couple different things. She was like a Democrat. I think she ran as like a fake Democrat spoiler. I think she's run for several different offices statewide and locally. And now she's worked her way all the way down to school board. And she is a definite, she prides herself on being homophobic. She uses that term and worse. And this is one of those things where it's kind of like, you know, Tom Hartman saying it's not a spectator sport, get yourself involved. And Shepherd just said, well, hell, if nobody else is going to do it, I'll do it. And they just jumped up into it and just starting this campaign on a shoestring at the very last minute. So I do hope people will support her for sure.
Tom, I appreciate you bringing that to the attention of our audience. A lot of them live in Madison, Wisconsin. 844-967-2789. Carolyn from Madison, you're next. Welcome. What do you got for us?
Hi, as far as those solar farms go, let's see, motherjones.com has an article, What Every City Should Do. And it starts out talking about how cities are charging, or how companies are charging for the parking spots that have solar panels over them because they're shady on a hot summer day. So you pay like $50 a month and you get to park in one of those under a solar panel. Anyway, the article just covers putting panels on developed areas rather than, and utilizing the developed area.
Well, they do offer a form of shade, Carolyn. I thought I had seen Los Angeles has a lot of water evaporation, and obviously California is going to suffer and has suffered through tremendous drought conditions. But you can put solar panels on water reservoirs effectively, and it's a double win. It helps decrease the evaporation rate, and of course, it's electricity generating, Carolyn.
Yeah.
It's a win-win, but it'd be nice for the sake of our friend in Randolph, Carolyn. It would have been nice if, someone had warned them and not just give the richest neighbors the insight to go up buy some land on the cheap and, strike it rich when they resold it for profit.
That's terrible. There's huge government buildings that should have panels on them.
Well, Carolyn, I remember when the White House had solar panels on them, on it, when, who was it? Jimmy Carter was the president. And then Reagan got elected and he stripped them off. One quick note. The inflation rates this month, year over year, up the most it's been since 1982. And I had two quick thoughts. One, a year ago at this time, we're in a pandemic. And not a lot of people were out shopping. There wasn't a lot of consumer demand. Hell, a lot of people weren't even driving very far. So the fact that we've got the greatest November year over year inflation since 1982 should be a shocker to anyone. That's called an economic recovery. But above and beyond that, for all the righties that are talking about the Joe Biden inflation, they don't give him any credit for the roaring economy. Kramer on CNBC, not the, crazy Michael Richards Kramer, but the crazy Jim Kramer guy on CNBC. Bye. That guy calls this the best economy he's seen in his lifetime right now under Joe Biden. But we don't hear a lot of positive about Joe Biden and the economy. All we hear is, oh God, it's the worst inflation since 1982. But I would remind everyone, remember Scott Wanker, the former governor of the state of Wisconsin? Yeah, I think we should always make a little time for Walker bashing. I mean, the guy got married on Ronald Reagan's birthday. He worships this man. He serves macaroni and cheese and red, white, and blue jelly beans. And of course, he used to dye his hair jet black, much like the Gipper used to. And now he's living on the Rancho del Solio Ranch. Seemingly, he runs the Young Nazi Reagan Youth Association, something of the sort. YFA, I think they call themselves. But here's the point. As he idolizes and sort of, canonizes this former president and Ronald Reagan, they never scream and yell about the massive inflation under Reagan, do they? They talk about the rip-roaring Reagan economy. Oh, man, the economy grew under Reagan. It was enormous. It was so great. And the inflation rates were tremendously high, exactly as high as they are under Joe Biden, when Joe Biden's economy is rip-roaring. So just a little digression here on Friday as we air the grievances. When you hear your crazy uncle talking about Joe Biden and the inflation, tell him best economy in Jim Cramer's lifetime. Bye. 844-967-2789. Going back to the phones. Kurt from Madison, I believe you're next. Welcome, Kurt.
Yeah, thanks. First, I want to give a tip of the hat to you, Krut.
Thanks, man.
The reason being, anybody that can manage and handle CJ go through his diatribe of diarrhea coming out of his mouth is really amazing. I really mean it. I'm not just saying it puff. No, you do a great job at handling him. Now, here's what I would like to do. It's not necessarily complain. I hope he continues to call in and demonstrate how stupid he is. But I think the best thing we can do, us listeners, to really demonstrate what we think of CJ is not to react to him whatsoever. Matter of fact, pretty much ignore everything. And
come on, man, that means you'd be ignoring the greatest radio show ever. That is not your DNA, Kurt. You must react.
No. That's your job. You get him to talk. You get him to show how incredibly stupid he is. Let the rest of us move on to more important things.
Kurt, you act like that's my talent, and I appreciate the kind words. But CJ does that all on his own. 844-967-2789. More fine callers like Joe from Madison. Joe, welcome. What do you got for us? Friday grievance? Question mark?
First off, bon voyage. Have a great time on your trip.
Not next week. I got one more week of work here, and then I'm taking a week off up to Christmas.
Excellent. All right. That gives you time to pack your suitcase with all the things that you need. This is very good. So I'm calling in response to, I actually had some grievances, and I'll put it at the end of this little talk, but I would just encourage the guy who called from, I believe it was Columbus. He's
Randolph, gentleman north of Columbus. But go ahead, Joe.
And concerned about a vast solar array that is being planned, and a very little to no communication with the local people to let them know that this is happening, and there's a worry about property values. He's got every right, he and his neighbors, to get on the phone and start calling their representatives and senators and local representatives and just start beating on it. I would offer for some inspiration for him. I see there's an article just recently, the 7th of December, that talks about after community complaints, the Wausau Waterworks decided to delay their solar array project because the neighbors complained that it would be an eyesore, which it sounds like what the guy calling from Randolph is concerned about. So I would just encourage him, nothing's stuck in concrete at this point. And if there are concerns that could be alleviated by dividing the array of solar panels into smaller chunks with greenery that would separate it, that would provide more of a green belt between the solar array and the local neighbors. These sorts of things have happened with other solar projects. But, they're going to want to use every inch of land that they can. You got to push back to say, you're not the only people in this area. And if we need things in order to, maintain the value of our property, that's not an unreasonable thing to say. And I would just encourage him to get on the phone and start getting information. Call up in Wausau and see what the citizens groups did up there. He can Google it. There's lots of information about it. It was the Wausau Waterworks. And they basically said, we're going to delay putting our solar array until we get more input from the local neighbors who feel that they were going to be harmed by this going in. And people said, I'm not against solar. It's just that it's not put together well so that the way that it competes with the local property values. And it's worth doing. It's worth at least trying to find some sorts of compromise and don't feel like you're steamrolled about this. So anyway, it's just a little bit of a pep talk on a Friday for somebody.
Well, thank you, Joe. That is at least the offer of a possible solution, or at least the action plan. That always that always beats what, I usually offer you, which is snark. 844-967-2789. If solutions don't work, try sarcasm. Dick in the garage in Madison. Welcome back. What do you got for us, Dick?
Well, here's some sarcasm. I'm really saddened to hear that I didn't hear from the local chapter chairman of Mensa, CJ. Sorry about that.
Come on, it's after 4 on a Friday. CJ's in a bar drunk already, I suspect.
Okay. This morning I mentioned to Matt Flynn, and I'll say it again. This is my grievance: is the capon that is Merrick Garland. It's pretty bad when somebody like me is advocating for Liz Cheney to be the AG. She has publicly said she is not letting these people from January 6th run the clock out and get beyond next year's midterms with another Congress. I advocate for her for Attorney General.
I'm not sure. Is Liz Cheney an attorney? I mean, to be the Attorney General, presumably you got to at least be an attorney.
Luke covered that this morning. He jumped on it. She not only is an attorney, but she has her law degree from the University of Chicago.
Well,
And
at least
Matt
it's it's not one of those evangelical Christian law schools, not Liberty or
Right.
Oral Roberts or
But
the
I'm
sort.
getting sick of waiting, Kurt, on this January 6th. We got to do something. This is all about the country here. Somebody's got to and get off the pot real quick, in my opinion.
Well, let's say fish or cut bait, Dick.
Okay.
That works better with the FCC. Appreciate you listening, buddy. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. We're all going to have a good weekend. I can feel it. And I got another grievance before we go to our final break of the day and take one more segment. Walker appointees refuse to step down from the Tech College Board months after their terms have expired. The DNR board isn't the only governmental body where former Scotty Wanker appointees are refusing to leave their post until replacements are confirmed by the GOP-controlled state Senate. Of course, they will not confirm Evers appointees, so therefore these jobs become Walker appointee jobs forever. 3 Walker appointees in the Wisconsin Technical College System Board continue to serve. That has prevented Governor Tony Evers' picks to replace them from beginning to serve on the body, which sets policy for the 16 campus system. Come back. I'll give you the rest of the information about, fascist Walker appointees on the Wisconsin Technical College Board. I mean, it can't be the fat paycheck that's motivating them. It's got to be the fascistic upside. Come back. It's Friday. We air the grievances. Yours could be next. One last segment. 844-967-2789.
I love this song. I love nachos.
Loving everything? You might be buzzed.
You know what I'd love? A ride when it's time to head out.
If you see a buzz warning sign, call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
600,000 Wisconsin families are receiving checks to help take care of their kids thanks to the expanded child tax credit passed by Joe Biden and congressional Democrats. Ron Johnson voted against these checks for Wisconsin families, despite voting for a 2017 tax break that put more money into the pockets of millionaires like himself. It's time to vote Ron Johnson out of office. MoveOn.org political action, paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Poll.moveon.org, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Hi, John from Wisco Home Goods here. Jeremy and I handcraft our 100% non-toxic candles from locally sourced materials in our Madison, Wisconsin facility. Wisco Home Goods candles come in a variety of unique blends and scents that you're sure to love. Add a little warmth to your home as the days get colder with one of our Midnight Cypress or Up North candles. Order at wiscohomegoods.com. Natural, healthy, nourishing candles and more at wiscohomegoods.com.
Social media? You've kept up with the times. If you can do that, you can definitely save for retirement. Go to aceyourretirement.org and in just 3 minutes, you'll get free tips to help boost your retirement savings. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
I'm not a big fan of righty-whitey talk radio, but if I'm going to tune in even for an hour a day, I really wish they'd have a live host. You know, they've still got a Rush Limbaugh show, and the guy's been dead for a couple months.
Playing like best of Dead Rush.
Do you know how weird that is? I make you this promise, Dom, after I'm dead, you don't have to keep playing my sound bites. Although I'm hoping you go first.
The Devil's Advocates, weekdays from 2 to 5.
The Devil's Advocates, making radio great again.
All my friends, yellow rider.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, the Friday edition. Nearly out of time. Still time for your grievance, though. Dial me up, 844-967-2789. Talking about some wanker appointees to the Technical College System Board, and they're refusing to leave and let the Evers appointees take their rightful places. Kind of like that guy over at the DNR board. Chair Frederick Preen has caused a political stir and a legal fight by continuing to serve in his post on the DNR board despite his appointment expiring 7 months ago. He vowed not to give up his seat until the Senate confirms his replacement, but Governor Tony Evers' pick to replace Preen remains bottled up in committee, and it will remain there because Republicans don't play fair. Let's just admit it. Evers' 3 picks still waiting to serve on the Technical College Board, meanwhile, have yet to receive a public hearing before the Senate Universities and Technical Colleges Committee, even though the governor made the nominations between June 24th and November 19th. Chair Roger Roth's office, he's a Republican, says the delays are due to scheduling conflicts. But Senator Chris Larson, he's a Dem from Milwaukee, also a member of the committee, sees other motivations. This is unprecedented. It is 100% motivated by blatant partisan politics, Larson says. The 13-member board includes 3 Evers-friendly ex officio members who serve because of their positions: State Superintendent Jill Underly, Workforce Development Secretary and Amy Pekachek. I'm sorry, Amy, if that's not even close to right. And Evers appointed UW System Regent John Miller. Of the remaining 10 members, 5 are Evers appointees and 5 are Walker holdovers, including 3 whose terms have already expired. The arrangement effectively gives those associated with Evers an 8-5 majority. Walker appointees remain on the board with expired terms include Mayor Mary Williams. Want to get these names right. Mary Williams, a former GOP state rep from northern Wisconsin. Kelly Trudeau, Tourdot, vice president of Associated Builders and Contractors. I'd call Kelly down at the office. And Becky Lebzow, Lebzow, a South Central Wisconsin dairy farmer. Move on. You know, in the vernacular of the cow, move on. You get it? 844-967-2789. I didn't say I was always clever. One more story for the day, at least. And perhaps at least one more grievance from you, but you got to dial 844-967-2789. Robin Vos, Speaker of the Assembly, and he's the one that directs the investigation of special counselor and corrupted former Supreme Court Justice Michael Gableman. According to the Associated Press, Scott Bauer reporting, the Wisconsin Assembly's top Republican is refusing to say baseless claims that Joe Biden stole the 2020 election are merely conspiracy theories. Speaker Robin Vos told WDJT-TV in an interview that aired Thursday that many people are saying, many people legitimately believe Republican Donald Trump was cheated out of the presidency. Didn't we start the show by talking about this, at least in part? They don't really believe that. They're butthurt. They have sour grapes. How do we know this? Because those that say, Joe Biden, it was rigged, he stole the election, whatever the case may be, also are the most engaged and say they will vote in next year's midterms. Both cannot be true. Either they don't believe the big lie, or why would they vote again in the next election? A little bit more. A quote from Speaker Robin Vos. I think people put ideas forward, Sometimes they are proven to be true. Sometimes they are not proven to be true, but I wouldn't say they are conspiracy theories. No, they're just entirely proven to not be true, Robin. And you're not a dumb man. You know this. This is purely partisan. This is a red herring of the worst sort. Ask if he believes Biden stole the election. Voss said only that Biden is president. So you'll acknowledge that modest reality. Joe Biden sits in the Oval Office. He's president. Voss hired former state Supreme Court Justice Michael Gableman earlier this year to investigate the 2020 election in Wisconsin. Oh, yeah, that's the nice way of putting it. Gableman has taken intense criticism from Democrats and Crudy for hiring partisan assistants, but Voss defended him, saying he wants people who ask questions and do research working on the probe. Voss went on to say he believes Gableman's team should conduct their interviews behind closed doors. Did you catch that? No transparency, secret interviews. Perhaps in a gulag somewhere, comparing the probe to a criminal investigation, even though it doesn't have that sort of power, does it? When police refuse to release details until their work is complete. Now, this article by Scott Bauer points out Gableman is not a prosecutor or a detective and has no arrest or charging powers, but Voss still said investigation shouldn't be conducted in public. That's the entirety of what you're doing here, Voss. I just think they all need to shut up. Democratic State Senator John Erpenbach, my senator, said they know the election wasn't stolen, and they're sowing doubt for the coming 2022 November election. 844-967-2789. Voss cannot even admit that these are conspiracy theories, but maybe a modest confession. I guess Joe Biden might be the president. Jeannie from Eau Claire, welcome back. You're probably going to get the last word today, Jeannie.
Okay, a new motto for all of us. When crazy comes knocking at the door, slam it shut. A Republican governor made this comment on Rod Johnson's COVID claim. When crazy comes knocking at the door, slam it shut. And that's what we need to start doing, is slam that door shut on those crazies. So have a good weekend and take care, okay?
Thank you.
Bye.
Jeannie, thank you for listening. Thank you for contributing. Always appreciate when you do. I don't know. When you talk about the Gableman investigation as just one example, I don't know how you shut the door on the crazy. Because Gableman, what he's asking to arrest the mayor of Madison or Green Bay, well, that's crazy. And he asked the Madison city attorney, Michael Haas, and he says it's unprofessional, it's persecution. It's a hell of a lot of things. It's an abuse of power. But you can't ignore it. I mean, what if the mayor's sitting at her house on Sunday and the Waukesha County sheriff shows up and says you're under arrest? Does she have the right to refuse, to resist? What would happen to the rest of us if we resisted that sort of false and unlawful imprisonment? Well, my attorney would say, go get arrested and then, we'll sort it out in court. But, I've been arrested and that sucks, man. Thank you all for listening to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. I want to thank my fine guest, former U.S. Attorney James Santelle. He's going to fill in for me a week from Wednesday on December 22nd while Crudy's on a Vegas vacation. Stick around. Earl's not on vacation. He's doing his live show next, 5 to 6 p.m. Earl Ingram, the Native Roots Radio. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone. Go Badgers, beat Ohio State, and go Packers. Who are they going to beat? I think it's the Bears. Come back on Monday.
Wisconsin, you know that